Alright, so here is the mod board fully installed and the trace cut for the CPU clock. As you can see, I currently have the potentiometer board set here because that's probably where I'll mount it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, well, first of all, here's an up-close look at the board installed in the system. As you can see, there's something else that I forgot to mention. There's an option to add a halt switch onto the board, which is very useful if you're going to overclock the system, as the CPU likes to crash if you do not halt it when you overclock it. If it doesn't crash, it will either cause a whole bunch of video errors and stuff like that. However, you can bypass that if you adjust the clock potentiometer a little slowly. I'm going to be using my Genesis test cartridge, which just has a test ROM on it, in order to show you the amount of ticks per cycle on each clock cycle of the CPU. That's measured by the benchmark score shown at the beginning menu. Alright, so using my test ROM, I will show you the change of cycles per instruction set based on where you position the potentiometer and generate the clock signal. You'll notice that so the system is currently clocked at normal clock speed. You'll notice that, and I'll keep resetting it here, that the average benchmark score, or clocks per instruction, is around 31 to 3200, and we can measure how much it goes up when we turn the potentiometer. If I turn the potentiometer all the way up, it should start glitching because it doesn't like going that fast. But you can tell that the number of instructions per cycle has gone way up, although it doesn't like that speed. So let's turn it down a little bit and try to get to it a much more stable clock setting. There we go. 4597. In my experience, that's around 12 megahertz. And it's still a little too fast, so let's turn it down a bit more. That would be, so 4300 is around 11 megahertz. And so what I can do from here to make sure that that everything is running like it should be with the overclock is test 68K RAM, test VRAM, test Z80 RAM. But what we're mainly interested in here is the 68,000 RAM test, as that is what the overclock affects. Let's see. If I turn the overclock back up, and load memory diagnostics, we can probably get a better idea of the failures that are occurring when the system is clocked too high. As you can see, it detects, well, I really can't tell because the system is glitching up too much, but it does detect problems. It detects problems in the VRAM, it detects problems with the Z80, it detects problems with the 68,000. So, clocking it all the way up is not really recommended. And this may just be a fluke caused by the board revision of the system. I've noticed that it depends on the board revision whether or not an overclock will be stable. So let's see, I turned it down a bit more. Let's turn it down a bit more. Go back into memory diagnostics. And around here is where latency, or excuse me, not latency, but too fast of a clock signal no longer becomes an issue. This is, let's see, right now I would guess that based on the benchmark score, the system is clocked at around 10 megahertz. We can get that up a little bit higher. So let's stick in good old Sonic 2. It doesn't like this speed, although that is not surprising. And let's turn the volume up just a bit. And unlike on the NES and stuff, where the... Ooh, there we go. Yeah, it crashed. And unlike on the NES, for instance, where when you turn up the clock speed on the CPU, it also turns up the volume, or the frequency pitch of the sound. That does not occur on the Genesis. Alright, let's try playing the game and see if it works okay. I clocked it down a little bit. You should notice that when Sonic gets hit, for instance, and when he loses all his rings, there should be no slowdown. So let's see if I can make that happen. There we go. Normally with that many rings flying across the screen, it should have greatly slowed down the system for the duration that Sonic was in the air flying backwards. But it didn't, and that's one of the benefits of having the overclock. Unfortunately, some games benefit greatly from the overclock, especially specific racing games really benefit from being overclocked, as they make it so the game is no longer glitchy and slow. Another reason why you may want to overclock your system is if you're attempting to play, or if you're actually using a 50 Hertz PAL region system. All the games run slower on those systems because the stock clock cycle is much slower. Well, not much, but enough to make a difference. Alright, from here, let's actually try adjusting the potentiometer of the clock while the game is running. I'm adjusting it slower. See if that screwed anything up. If I turn it up all the way, it would definitely screw things up while playing the game. Let's try that. There we go. Yay! Looks like the system has been put into a CGA mode or something. As you can tell, right now, the system is just a mishmash of garbage. And that's because the system does not like this clock speed. So let's try adjusting it down. There we go. Man, that looks beautiful. I can't even really see what I'm doing. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and thanks a lot to Elder for sending me a couple of his kits for me to test. I really appreciate it from him, and hopefully I'll be able to show you a better example, meaning a better game that actually showcase Overclock on than just Sonic. I currently don't have a game that really benefits from Overclock that has a big difference. But other than that, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.